Warcraft 4. You know, people have been talking about Warcraft 4 for forever. People have talked about Warcraft 4 since Warcraft 3 ended. People have talked about it since World of Warcraft launched, since Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm. And over the years, we've had all these theories as to what could Warcraft 4 be about. Some people said, oh, it's gonna be, it's gonna be the war against the Lich King. Well, that didn't happen. Some people said, oh, maybe it's something to do with Deathwing. Well, that didn't happen, clearly. That all happened in World of Warcraft. But lately, I've been kind of thinking about what could Warcraft 4 potentially be about, and I have a theory, a strong theory, I think, and I think that, I think you guys might like it, maybe not, and let me just say, there's probably a 99% chance that I'm wrong, but let me just say that I think Blizzard is actually setting up the stage for a potential Warcraft 4 down the road. Let me explain. First of all, let me say two things. Nobble87, if you don't know who he is, you're under a rock, but Nobble87, he is a WoW lore YouTuber, and he made a fantastic video recently talking about pretty much the lore of Legion and what we've learned about the old gods, and pretty much explaining how everything that has been happening over the past couple of expansions have all been the work of the old gods. The old gods have been pulling the strings in the Warcraft universe, in the lore, and they're kind of setting the stage for their return and the return of their Black Empire. Now, if you don't know what the Black Empire is, then I highly recommend you get yourself a copy of World of Warcraft Chronicle, Volume 1. And pretty much this is a book that kind of explains the foundation of the Warcraft universe, right? And it's really good. I highly recommend it. It's pretty cool. And now that I think about it, Blizzard, I'm giving you a shameless promotion of your book, so you can send me the check in the mail. Let's put it that way. But no, seriously, go check out the Chronicle. It's a good book. The Black Empire is pretty much when the old gods ruled Azeroth, and they had these giant buildings and pyramids and crap and hoo-ha everywhere. It was just like, it was this great Black Empire, like, this empire of evil ruled over by the old gods, right? And it seems, according to Nobble's video and the lore that we've been getting in Legion and previous expansions, seems that the old gods are they're on their way back, and it seems they want to rebuild their Black Empire again and rule over Azeroth. So with all that said, I think Warcraft 4 could actually deal with the rise of this new Black Empire and the re-emerging of the old gods and their armies from deep beneath Azeroth. Now, before you freak out and say, no, I don't think so, hear me out, because I think there's a little bit of evidence to possibly back this up. The biggest thing is this. In Legion, it seems that Blizzard is establishing two storylines at the same time. In one hand, you have the whole old god thing, the old gods pulling the strings in the background, blah blah blah. But at the same time, you also have this other storyline being built up around the Void Lords. And you have that whole storyline with Illidan, where apparently Illidan is going to become the leader of this army of the light and lead the forces of the light against, the forces of darkness, the Void Lords and stuff like that. Now, this is very interesting because let me say something in regards to making a game or making a movie off of a successful franchise. Warcraft 3 was an incredibly successful strategy game. In fact, it's still considered to this day to be one of the best RTS games to have ever been made, next to a game like StarCraft and blah blah blah. There are others as well. But Warcraft 3 is definitely up there. People love Warcraft 3. It's still so popular today. And if Blizzard is going to make a Warcraft 4, one thing that I think Blizzard will do, and a lot of people do this, a lot of game developers, movie directors, authors, what they're probably going to do is they're going to make their new game, Warcraft 4, very similar to Warcraft 3 in a lot of ways. Because I think that movie directors and game developers and writers, and it's completely understandable, if they have something that becomes successful, they don't want to deviate too far away from that formula because it could potentially lead to whatever they're working on, this new thing, not being as successful. So what does that have to do with Warcraft 4? Pretty much what I'm getting at is I think that Warcraft 4 will be similar to Warcraft 3 in a lot of ways. And these two storylines that are kind of being established actually would fit the narrative pretty well. So imagine this. Imagine Warcraft 4 opens up, and it takes place, in the beginning, on Azeroth. We play as someone like King Anduin. We play as some familiar heroes like Malfurion, Tyrande, Sylvanas, whoever. We play as these familiar heroes, and we're dealing with the re-emerging of the old gods. Their armies are spreading, their corruption is spreading across the land. Does it sound familiar? Kind of sounds like the Scourge from Warcraft 3, right? And then at the same time, we'll have another storyline going on, a different campaign, because obviously Warcraft 4 is going to have multiple different campaigns, just like Warcraft 3 did, just like Warcraft 2. And in the other campaign, we will follow Illidan. And as you guys know, later on in Legion, we are actually going to Argus, the homeworld of the Legion, or their kind of capital world, right? And maybe in Illidan's campaign, we actually follow Illidan on Argus, maybe in a different area, or maybe on a whole new planet entirely or something, and we have Illidan becoming this leader of the Army of the Light. Now, I imagine that these two storylines would ultimately meet at one point. So, for example, as you play as Horde and Alliance characters and you fight the old gods on Azeroth, Illidan is fighting the Void Lords and friends with his little Army of the Light and some other familiar characters. And then eventually, the story might meet, like maybe the Void Lords reach Azeroth or something, or maybe, and this is entirely possible because it probably will happen, maybe the game will establish a new villain, a new named villain, and some new named heroes, and this villain might go to Azeroth, and Illidan and his army has to go to Azeroth as well, and it kind of ends up becoming this big clusterfuck of a battle of Horde, Alliance versus the old gods. The Void Lords are there, Illidan and his Army of the Light is there, and it would be very, very similar. My puppy just jumped on the bed. It would be very similar to the end of Warcraft 3, with the Battle of Mount Hyjal. All these storylines coming together for this one final battle. Sounds familiar. It's different, but it's familiar. And I think that that might be the kind of route that Blizzard might go with Warcraft 4. Now, obviously, in the game, Warcraft 4 will probably shake up the world of Azeroth as we know it. We might see cities be destroyed in cinematics, kind of like what we saw in Dalaran. And then later on, a WoW expansion could come out that takes place after the events of Warcraft 4, and it would show how the world has changed. I mean, who knows? Anything could happen. Maybe a third faction could be introduced to the game, like Illidan's Light Army, with their own, like, tons of races that we've never seen before from other worlds or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like it would be like Cataclysm, where like the world has been like sundered and corrupted by the old gods and their influence. I don't know. Blizzard could do anything in the Warcraft 4 game. Anything they wanted to shake up the world of Azeroth. And I think that would be really cool. So that's what I think Warcraft 4 could potentially be about. Now, it's not exactly my preferred Warcraft 4, to be honest, but, it kind of makes sense, and it would fit with the greater story of what Blizzard has been establishing throughout Legion and the previous expansions and stuff, so could work, it would be great if they, if they did do something like that, throw the Lich King in there, have the Lich King do some badass stuff, Bolvar, that'd be kind of cool, but we'll see, I guess, when it actually comes out. Truth be told, the whole reason I made this video is because I saw that Novel 87 video. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It got the cogwheels turning in my head, like, oh, what could happen down the road in terms of expansions or in terms of possibly Warcraft 4. Fantastic video. If you haven't seen the video from Nobble87, I highly recommend you go check it out. I'll put it in the description below, and I'll also put it on the little end screen thing of this video. But guys, legit, for those of you that have played Warcraft 3, and obviously that's going to be the majority of you, what would you like to see in Warcraft 4? I mean, me personally, I just want to see the Lich King doing badass shit, and I want to play as fucking Malfurion again. And that's pretty much it. That's all I want. But what about you guys? What sort of storyline would you like to see? Do you think that Blizzard will kind of keep things familiar to Warcraft 3 to play it safe, like I said and I kind of explained? Or do you think they'll do something completely radically different? I'm just one opinion among millions of opinions in the Warcraft community, right? So, what do you guys think? Leave your theory crafting below, and maybe, just maybe, a Blizzard developer will watch this video. And I know you guys watch my videos. I know you do. I'm watching you guys. Maybe they will watch this video and they'll hear my idea and be like, yeah, that's okay, I guess. But then they'll look at the comments and they'll see one of your ideas and be like, wow, now that's really okay, I guess. And then, who knows what could happen? Who knows what could happen? That's probably not going to happen, but who knows? You don't know. I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, guys, thank you for watching or listening or whatever it is you were doing. Oh my, Lucy! Look, hold on. Lucy, I am trying to film the outro of a video right now. My puppy. My bed's not made, so you guys can, like, shut up, alright? Did you guys like seeing my puppy? That's my happy puppy. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching or whatever. I'll see you next time. Peace.